From 1933 to 1945, when the German Nazis committed many terrible acts such as the genocide of millions of people and the horrors of the concentration camps, many countries felt they needed to hold the leaders of the atrocities accountable. Four of the world's most powerful countries, France, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America, came together as they allied and held the Nuremberg trials, a trial for the worst Nazis. They wanted to prosecute those who created and supported the system of oppression and extermination throughout Germany. The Nuremberg trials lasted from November 20th, 1945 to October 1st, 1946. The Nuremberg trials was a collection of 11 different cases that prosecuted many Nazis for inhuman acts in various forms and helped end impunity in the justice system. The trials prosecuted Nazi Germany's leaders for crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. This case went under the name of the Einsatzgruppen trials, which was the most impactful of all the cases. The Nuremberg trials became the first international military tribunal, the first international court to sentence people to prison and death, and formed international law to become the foundation of the International Criminal Court, a universal declaration for human rights, and two of the four Geneva Conventions. The Nuremberg trials crossed frontiers in history by being the first international criminal tribunal. The trials prosecuted the unspeakable acts of Germany's top leaders. 19 of the 21 defendants were found guilty of breaking international law. The trials helped define the international law by having many concepts and laws universally recognized. 78 years later, the Nuremberg trials play a huge part in the world today as it represents one of the first steps in international law. In 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. He ruled in Nazi Germany until he committed suicide in 1945 inside his underground bunker. Under Hitler's leadership, the Axis powers led by Germany, Italy, and Japan invaded other countries in Asia, Africa, and mostly Europe. The Nazi military also systematically murdered 11 million Jews, Slavs, homosexuals, and Jehovah's Witnesses in what many call the Holocaust. This genocide occurred because the Nazis considered these people life unworthy of life. In 1945, the German government was accused of an attack against Jews as human beings. The Allies, led by the Soviet Union, the United States of America, and the United Kingdom, had three choices: let the genocide and other vile acts go unpunished, simply kill all the Nazis whether they're innocent or not, or bring the Nazis to justice. The United States of America, the French Republic, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union held a trial against the top German leaders and the Nazi government officials. Since the Nazis' actions were legal in Germany, the trials had to adapt by combining the laws of France, the Soviet Union, the United States of America, and the United Kingdom. There were four types of crimes that the tribunal looked for. Crimes against peace, which was defined as planning or waging a war which was in violation of international treaties. Crimes against humanity, which was defined as inhuman acts committed against a civilian population. War crimes, which were violations of law or customs of war. And conspiracy to commit the other three crimes, meaning that they could still be convicted if they had ordered their men to commit one of the three crimes. The Nuremberg trials accused 21 Nazis of these crimes. The prosecutors showed the courtroom the horrors of the acts these men committed.
Since the 20th day of November, 1945, this International Military Tribunal has been in almost continual session. In these many months, a record of more than 15,000 pages has been compiled. Over 300,000 affidavits have been submitted. About 3,000 documents have been offered, and oral testimony has been heard from some 200 witnesses. This great mass of evidence, oral and written, almost exclusively of German origin, has established beyond question the commission of the crimes of criminal conspiracy, aggressive war, mass murder, slave labor, racial and religious persecutions, and brutal mistreatment of millions of innocent people.
Some Nazis, like Hjalmar Schacht, were aware of their actions. Schacht stated, "I have full confidence in the judges. I am not afraid of the outcome. A few of the defendants are not guilty, but most of them are sheer criminals." Other Nazis, such as Hermann Göring, who took responsibility for eliminating Jews as well as destroying and taking over their property and business, still thought very highly of themselves. These Nazis did not feel any remorse for their actions. One is going as far as saying, "I wish you had killed 200 Jews and not destroyed such valuable property." The Nazis tried to defend their actions by claiming they were just following orders.
Ich habe geirrt. Ich war nicht imstande zu verhindern, was hätte verhindert werden müssen. Das ist meine Schuld. Es ist tragend, einsehen zu müssen, dass das Beste, was ich als Soldat zu geben hatte, Gehorsam und Treue für nicht erkennbare Absichten ausgenutzt wurde. Und dass es nicht klar, dass auch der soldatischen Pflichterfüllung eine Grenze gesetzt ist. Das ist ein Schicksal.
This was rejected by judges because they claimed if someone obeys an order that is illegal under international law, they would be punished unless they could prove that they were unaware of the order being illegal or that they were threatened with physical harm if they did not obey. These judges said it would have been impossible for the Nazis to not know murdering all those innocent people was illegal or immoral. The judges also recognized that all the other Nazis who did not obey orders were not punished or harmed in any way.
You must plead guilty or not guilty. Bekenne mich im Sinne der Anklage nicht schuldig. Rudolf Hess. Nein. Wilhelm Keitel. Ich bekenne mich nicht schuldig. Ich bekenne mich im Sinne der Anklage für nicht schuldig. Ich bekenne mich im Sinne der Anklage nicht für schuldig. Nicht schuldig. Dieser Anklage gegenüber nicht schuldig.
At the end of the trials, out of 21 defendants, 12 were sentenced to death by hanging, 4 imprisoned with sentences ranging from 10 years to life, 3 found not guilty, and 2 undecided because they were already dead during the trials.
Wilhelm Göring, on the counts of the indictment on which you have been convicted, the tribunal sentences you to death by hanging. Joachim von Ribbentrop, death by hanging. Fritz Saukel, death by hanging. Julius Streicher, death by hanging. Wilhelm Frick, death by hanging. Hans Frank, death by hanging. Alfred Rosenberg, death by hanging. Wilhelm Keitel, death by hanging.
Some Nazis also committed suicide before they could be hung. One of them was Hermann Göring, Hitler's second in command. He thought hanging was inappropriate for a man in his position, so he took a cyanide pill the day before he was hung. Göring wrote in his suicide note, "I would have no objection to getting shot," showing that even in the end he thought highly of himself despite committing mass genocide and destroying the lives of many. The Nuremberg trials was a frontier in history because they defined international law. The Nuremberg trials created new concepts and laws that were universally recognized by having the International Law Commission adopt the Nuremberg Principles in 1950. The principles added new laws like individual criminal accountability for crimes under international law, as well as recognizing war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crimes against peace with clear definitions. The Nuremberg trials defined international law because they added a number of laws and concepts to be internationally recognized. The Nuremberg trials have influenced the world in many ways. The trials allowed humane medical testing on humans by creating the Nuremberg Code, which is a 10-point statement that determines the boundaries of what justifies humane experimentation. They have developed international law by defining crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, and defining other concepts recognizing by creating the Nuremberg Principles, a list of 7 principles recognized in international law. The trials forced many courts around the world to hold a promise to help put an end to impunity for human rights violators for a more humane and peaceful world. The Nuremberg trials paved the way for the General Assembly of the United Nations to continue developing international law today. In short, the Nuremberg trials crossed frontiers in history in various ways. They were the first international criminal tribunal. They also gave closure to victims of the Holocaust by holding up the top Nazis guilty for their crimes. The legacy of the Nuremberg trials can still be seen today as it becomes a foundation of the International Criminal Court, an essential part of stopping impunity, inhumane acts, and other atrocities around the world today.